And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing a recent announcement for BSG's upcoming updates coming out for Escape from Tarkov, followed by some scav changes, and then lastly, we'll be discussing a new Tarkov utility tool website that goes over things of like armor penetration and fun stuff like that. So, yeah, Giga, how's it going? Have you finally found the mysterious, forsaken, legendary loot on labs?
I have not, which is a bit sad. And
It doesn't
so
exist.
yeah, I know. So Thursday was a bit weird. Like yesterday was a bit weird. I was intending to do some more labs and stuff. So I was like, I searched for it Monday and Tuesday, didn't find it there. I found. I actually like I had to. I think I can't remember whether it was Monday or Tuesday. I had to stop though because I found my second MCC, the current converter thing of that stream, which was my fifth in total.
Oof.
And I was like, I just can't. I was like, I'm actually like almost more demoralized finding the NCC for the fifth time than I am not finding either. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah. Did they vendor for a lot? Like,
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're two by twos. They're full squares, but they vent for about 170k. So like they're they're good.
That's
They're good loot. They're good loot. But I was just distressed seeing
yeah,
it,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I just don't want to see this thing anymore. Like every time one of those spawns, I'm kind of like, I'm like, that could have been the GPSA, but it isn't. It's just like I've only seen it once, like 2 weeks ago. I haven't even seen it. And that's the annoying thing about this thing, right? I'm not even getting the opportunity to get out. You know what I mean? I'm literally just like rolling RNG and coming up on a 1 in every raid, or I guess a 1 through 99 and not hitting that 100. Like it's just,
What do you
and
mean?
every raid, it's just frustrating because if for example, I mean this is not how I think it should work, but if it was a fixed spawn for it,
Okay.
you'd go in and eventually you'll be able to do it because you got to go to the place and you got to survive whatever, and you're like, oh, I just got to survive and get out, and you get chances. But I feel like I'm not even getting any chances to try because I'm just going to every loot spot on the map or I die. Like that's the thing. So it's like I just keep going to all the spots until my death, and I eventually bump into somebody. Right? Oh, it's labs. It's like PvP central, so I have to like go from one side of the map to the other. And so I end up in like some stupid PvP. Honestly, the PvP has actually been really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So especially getting into the map a bit, and I wonder whether, because I'm historically, like you guys will know this, right? Like I'm not historically a big labs guy, but I have dabbled, and we've talked about, I use the MCX there and stuff. So I've tried. It's sort of an end. I'm an end of white, weekend armchair kind of labs player. But it's been fun to play it kind of like mid wipe, and in a wipe where other people, like this is my suspicion that other people are going because they have to, and it tends to be those guys who are kind of level 35 through to 50.
Right.
Who either, like, if they focus on the hideout, they probably are going sooner, and if they don't focus on it, they're probably going later. I may as well finish that, get it completed, whatever. And I think that I would imagine that it's drawing in more players like me that are not like super labs chads. That
Yeah.
and also that combined with the fact that you can't buy the alt in, like those two things together, has really changed it a lot, I think. From what I've seen and what I've played before. Like maybe I could be wrong because I don't, it's not like I have my finger on the pulse of labs from like the last three wipes or anything. But you see people play. I have been there in the other wipes. I've seen how it goes, and more often than not, you end up getting murdered by somebody with an M4 or HK or a FAL or something, or like even MP7 or whatever with an alt-in on and a slick.
Right.
That just like you can't buy the alt-ins now, so that just doesn't happen. So everybody's vulnerable. You never run into anybody who's just an Omega tank, except for me, because I was like trying to create some content for my Zabralo video. So I went with a Zabralo and an Altin, and it was really funny. And I won basically 2 fights that I shouldn't have if I didn't have that.
On labs?
So, on labs, yeah.
Oh,
one man had gone in. He was level
risking
50.
It all.
Yeah. I was like, I actually have 3 Altins now. So I was like, I think I got 2 from a quest reward and 1 I found in a stash or something. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's just use it, right? I've got this Zabralo. I want to make something about it. Let's just see what happens, because I suspected it might be quite good. And also I just get headshot constantly, so I was like, let's just try this. And yeah, the first guy I bump into, he's like level 53 or something, but he was just like loot running in there with a Kedda. and he cracks the fake shield, he hits me twice in the head and stuff, and then we have like another engagement, and I kill him, obviously, because like he's got a Keda. It's like it's just impossible for him to really win unless he tries to leg me. But even the TTK there is still pretty rough, especially given I'm still AK 101ing with like the 995 855A1 mix. So unless you're wearing class 5 and get lucky, or class 6, you're going to die in like 3 shots to thorax or whatever. So I don't know. And then the second guy I ran into, so that it hurt as well a tiny bit, but not much because those rounds just don't do anything. Second guy I ran into, I can't remember which gun it was. I think maybe it was RD. I'm not sure. But anyway, he had it was a mini AK. It was a 545 AK with BS. And I got hosed down and took like a ton of shots to my thorax. And BS will mess you up, right? If you're wearing basically anything other than the Zabralo, because it's 50. I mean, they actually buffed. We should talk about that. I forgot to write that down. They did actually buff it. Let me look it up just so I've got the actual stuff right. It's a very small buff. It's a small buff. It's a very small buff, but it matters a bit for bigger armors like that because of the way that the pen kind of scales. It's like a square thing, so like it is only one pen different, right? So it's like 51 to 52 pen on BS.
It's still it's still a meaningful buff.
Exactly, and 52 pen will just wreck every class 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's like M80 through class 4. So you die in 3 shots with all the class 5s with that. But I was wearing it and I got hosed down in the class 6, and 52 pen with the class 6 armor. I mean, I guess I could just pull it up real quick just to remind myself, because I actually didn't do the calculation before. What did I say? 52 pen?
Yeah, 52.
Yes, it's only 17% on the first shot. So you're actually not that likely to even pen. And then BS doesn't actually have that higher damage.
Yeah.
So, so I killed him, and I was like, right, it's time to get out. And this thing actually really worked. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. So, what was I saying? Yeah. So the PvP's actually been really good, but it's just like finding this item is just like really demoralizing. And Thursday was weird. So Thursday was weird for a different reason. And I promise we'll get into the actual cast before, like, rather than like Giga's random tales of the week. But Thursday was it was a landmark moment for me because I had the dudes turn up from the internet and they said, "Oh, we can't do the afternoon slot. We can do the morning slot. Is that okay?" And I was just like, "Yes, come as soon as." Like, come right now, as early as you can. It's fine. As long as you're not postponing it, it's okay. Because they said, "Oh, we can't come in the afternoon." And I was like, the blood runs cold kind of thing. They're just like, "No, we could do it even sooner." I'm like, "Great." So, but they came like much earlier than I expected. Like right as right as like we were busy getting the little ones out of the house and stuff. It was like it was crazy because the wife was going off to things. Anyway, the man came and he like fiddled with the thing, drilled a hole, and like routed a cable and stuff. So I've got like a box on the wall now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's progress.
And it was like green light for the power, red light for the data. He's just like, there's a fault down the line. So I was just like, no. Of course there is. So he's like, right, well, I'm going to have to go away and like figure this out. I'm going to give you a call and I'm going to ask you whether the light's off. So I gave this guy my mobile number. So he had to call me about 15 minutes later and just be like, "Hey, is the light green?" I was like, "No, it's still red." He's like, "Okay, well, we need this other team to do stuff, but they're in the area and they're actually doing things today, so they hopefully will get it sorted by lunchtime." So I was like, "Okay, well, here we go." So anyway, I'm supposed to start my stream at like 1, right? Don't hear anything. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. We'll just leave it. It's like it's no biggie. Start the stream up about I can't remember when it was, like half an hour in or something. A different fiber dude turns up at the door. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really awkward. He like now has to come in my room, like midstream, plug like a diagnostics thing into the box and like go off and do the stuff. I was just like, oh my God. So I was like, well, this guy might come back anytime. So I don't really want to be playing labs all day because like, there's nowhere to go. Like if you just suddenly need to stop. So, so on the stream, we ended up doing setup instead because I was like partway through that and I was having a rough time, but we actually ended up making that work and that was fun. But I was like, if we're on customs, we're with shotties, I don't really care. I'm just wearing Karuns and a 153. It's no big deal. I could just lie down in a bush if the dude comes back or whatever. So anyway, he came back. He fiddled with the thing. The light's gone green. He was like, "We're sending you your networking stuff now in the post because you got to like plug that in." Unfortunately, the way that they do it is really annoying. They actually also said it was annoying, but they post it out afterwards. I don't know why. I don't know why they do that. Maybe it's just they want to make sure everything's completely set before they send it to you. Otherwise, you've got to send it back and yada yada. I don't know. But anyway, so they've sent it out. And he was like, you might just want to try and plug your BT router in, because he's like 50% of the time, like it's 50-50 whether these routers work. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I tried it, it doesn't. So I got to wait for the hub to come from these people, which is apparently coming tomorrow. So the very long story short, tomorrow, and well, this might be the last ScavTalk on the lower bandwidth. So I've got to fiddle around with the stuff beforehand and make sure the settings work, and have issues with sending you video and all of this kind of stuff. And next time, I mean, maybe even by tomorrow, I could well have 900 symmetric. So we will see. We will see. It is exciting. It is exciting. So that's everything that's been going on this week, basically. But it's been fun. It's been fun. Been all right.
Cool.
Been all right. Anything notable? You've been busy editing and all that good jazz?
Not really. I'm waiting for the finals beta closed, which I was very sad about. I played that a crap ton, still fun. And then waiting on V Rising. It's getting an update here in May. That's gonna be.
I remember you loving that game.
Yeah, it's kind of sad too, man. It's like these games come out and I like them, and then I look at the Steam concurrent player count and it's like 200 players.
Yeah.
Like I went to play it again with my buddy, and we went to look at servers that were running, and the max pop was like 7 out of 50.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's just like it completely fell off. I mean, it's kind of just a product of, I think it's an early access game, but anyways, it's just one, it doesn't have all the features, the common issues. And but anyways, there's a big update coming that I'm really excited for, and should shake up, add new content, improved old systems, a lot of cool things. It's crazy too, because like it came out, it was like really popular there for like the first couple of weeks, and slowly started falling off, and they haven't really played the game of like, you know what I mean, constantly updated. They like literally just took their hands off like the game and like worked on this huge new content patch that's taken them probably, like, it's probably been a year, honestly, maybe like 9 months. That's so it's like a different philosophy. But yeah, so I'm excited about that, and yeah, kind of just biding my time.
That's cool.
Some other games in between till that comes out.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, honestly. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure what I think about it. You made me think of something that I hadn't really thought of before, about these design models, or the models of development and early access and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen this quite a lot with quite a few titles. We were talking about this with the cycle before last week, about how these companies come out with something that's early access for a game mode. I don't know whether it's a genre thing, whether it's within the genre that we typically look at, where you need to have end game loops of some kind, or at least enough grind to keep people interested. I mean, Tarkov's got like a ton of grind, which sort of is
ton of grind.
Yeah, it sort of is a a way of keeping people in, because there's always things to be doing, even if they're kind of mind numbing or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's an interesting one where you have something that's early access that comes out. It's really fun and it's got really engaging mechanics. But then once you've like seen it all, you're kind of just done with the game.
Yeah.
And it's almost risky, right? And then you put the game down and let people play it, and let the player count go down to 200 for a year. And then you release this new patch. It's like, well, does everybody come back? It's a huge risk, actually. Yeah. And I didn't really think about that before, just in terms of like what kind of development cycle do you actually need to keep the game afloat? Because like some of these games just can't afford to do that. It'll be interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. The other one, I guess, to like keep an eye on is like Road to Vostok, which is going to be the single player thing. We've talked about that before. They actually posted something as well very recently. There's like another update. Let me just find it before we jump into everything else. But
look like they got some new
like
weapons.
A load of guns.
Yeah, new.
Yeah.
You can adjust like the optics, the how far forward, how close to your eye you want it, like in real time, luminance.
That's so cool.
Of the optic. Yeah, they actually feature wise, like considering it's a one man job, as far as I understand, it's pretty impressive. I mean, it is single player, but still, it's still very impressive.
Yeah, like if you don't have to do the multiplayer part, it just helps so much, honestly. But so that, I mean, they posted, or he posted 19 hours ago and said like, yeah, all the weapons for the public demo 1 version 2 are now fully up to date, because I think we both played around with the first test, right? And they've got like some recoil handling system. There's like a bunch of different guns and stuff. So go and check that out if you are interested. It was 19 hours ago. He said, I'm now starting the bug testing phase related to other mechanics. When this is finished, I'll update the Steam demo. So once that's done, I guess he'll say, and then we can go and have a play with it. Like it's it's neat. I'm keeping an eye out for it just because it's, again, with the limited scope of being single player, there's a lot more control over the game that you have, and it's probably the closest thing. This is almost the thing that I'm thinking, like outside of like Stalker or whatever. It's like the closest thing to a new game that we have to like SP Tarkov,
Yeah, yeah.
Because it is that, right? Like by definition. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
One last thing before we jump into the Tarkov news. You brought up the cycle, and as you may have known from last week, I mentioned it's getting an update. But one of the things they're doing, I looked into it, and I'm actually really curious to see, because the other part of like this whole idea of like, oh, how do you do your development cycle for your early access? How do you update the game? Blah blah blah. Is marketing. Marketing is a big part too. Because if you're not spending any money on marketing during your phases of development where you're not really updating the game, then it's probably beneficial. But then you're kind of putting all your eggs into the basket of, oh, we're gonna do this big update and big marketing, and all the players will come back. Believe, guys. But the cycle is getting rid of wipes. They're removing wipes because they had wipes like every 3 months. I want to say they were like, or maybe it was every 6 months, but it happened in the middle of the Tarkov wipe, and I think that was a strategic thing. But they're doing like some massive changes to progression. They're getting rid of the ability. There was just like this weird thing where you could, I say it's weird because it's just kind of like not how Tarkov does it. Like you could basically, put in Tarkov terms, you could, as a level 1, you could go into your hideout and have like a level 3 lavatory and craft like level 6 armor. You could do that. Now there in the cycle there is no player economy. It's only like loot and trader economy, if you will. So basically what you had to do is you had to kill the mobs and find the rare loot, and then you could craft the golden legendary armor or whatever.
Yeah.
And but like kind of the caveat to that is like, well, that sounds easy, but like you need the good guns to kill the bosses essentially. So anyways, they're scrapping that whole idea, it seems like, and they're making that stuff a lot more rare and valuable, which has me intrigued. Because I feel like some of the issues with the game, outside of like the cheating problem they had and some of the other things, was like you just got stomped by people that were like geared, because it's not like Tarkov. Like I can't just like get them in the head. You know what I mean? It's just not the same things. So I wonder if that will make it more appealing to players. We'll see. But I'm curious to see how that game handles over the. Always got my eyes on that game.
Yeah, it's interesting to see just because of the parallels, and it's just good to see what other people are doing and like what works and what doesn't. Oh, we're going to get rid of wipes and make the end game loot really rare. Okay, well, does that mean that like everyone's scrubbing around, no one has it, or does it mean that there's a handful of players that just kill everybody because it's impossible to get the stuff, and once you do have it, then you just obtain more and more better stuff? I don't know. It's one of those things. It's hard to know until you do it. So that's why it's good to see, because these things are not dissimilar enough to be useless comparisons. Like they're useful comparisons. Double negative there, but they're useful comparisons because they're so similar. Is what I meant to say.
Yeah, and if I had to guess, the issue was that the people at the top basically always had access to the good stuff, because they essentially because they had the best stuff, they could grind more of the best stuff, and then they could easily get it because it's just like in the menus, so to speak. Yeah. Whereas now it sounds like it's not going to be in the menus, so it's kind of like the idea of spawning, slicks in raid, like hard spots.
Yeah.
I think we might have to see, but so I kind of suspect like in some ways, like like the good players are still going to be good players, but it may feel a bit more fair, in that
It's
not so top heavy.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like stopping Altins being on Ragman 4, right, and only being in stashes now. It's a bit like that.
Yeah. It is like that.
See, they're similar, right? They're quite similar.
Yeah.
In many ways. Yeah.
Okay, on
Cool.
to the news.
Yes. So BSG gave out 2 pieces of news. Really, the first one is like the generic update info that they are putting out, which doesn't have any time deadlines or anything like that on it, but it's stuff that we can look to see in the near term. Well, we shall see, but it's the stuff that they expect to do soonish. So it says an estimated plan of the changes, fixes, and improvements that will be included in the upcoming technical updates. The first one being the improvements to Oculus audio on Reserve, Interchange, and Shoreline, which is interesting because we talked about this before and whether we would know when they were fixing the audio on those maps, or I say fixing, doing their first pass of whatever it is that they need to do, and whether they would even say, because originally they said it was factory, woods, customs, and streets that were getting that upgrade, and then now it's Reserve, Interchange, and Shoreline, which are the ones that didn't have that. I wonder where Labs is in this list. Just out of it, and also Lighthouse, because those are the 2 that are missing from what we've heard. So maybe they haven't worked on those yet. I don't know, but anyway, that's welcome. I think that's welcome because especially Reserve. I mean, to be honest, Interchange too. Like the flaws things on Interchange is just so bad. Like front back's better as we talked previously, but Reserve and Interchange have lots of verticality, and Shoreline, honestly, in Resort. There's actually lots of verticality on those maps, which is maybe why they left them until now, because if you think that the people who were working on audio have probably been working on audio the entire time, so it's taken them from like the end of December through to the end of March to do these 3 maps. I'm not surprised why they left these and put woods and some of the easier ones in, some of the smaller ones like factory and flatter ones like customs first, because it was quick to do and they wanted to ship it with this patch 13, regardless of whether it was done or not or whatever. So they did as much as they could and then left this until now. So it kind of makes sense. We'll see. Hopefully that will make it a little bit better on these ones, especially inside, because that's the problem. It's just the vertical audio is just so bad, and the occlusion is just like not really great. But we'll see. I think we're just gonna have to watch for these incremental audio updates and see what happens. Right? Just see what happens. Yeah, go on. Go.
I was just gonna say, I was editing a clip and it was from Jesse's VOD, and he was like fighting a scav inside one of the street stores. I don't even know what they're called, but it's like a little green grocery store. But anyways, he was like on one side of the shelving, and then the scav was on the other side of the shelving. But it was like a very harsh left speaker only audio of the scav coughing, even though he was like looking diagonally at the scav through the shelves. Like the last scene, the scav was like not directly left of him. It was like more straight / forward than left. And then when he passes the shelving unit and then sees him, then it like goes back to like a dual mix because he's directly looking at the scav. But that was really weird, and because it was so harsh, it also made it sound like it was coming from behind me. But anyways, I haven't not played Tarkov in some time. It reminded me of just like how much pain is involved in the audio, because like normally it's fine. When I'm editing stuff, like you don't really see that issue, but like there are those like niche. It's just something about like walls inside of walls, or you know what I mean, like buildings inside of like rooms. It gets really wonky. I mean, obviously you got vertical issues, but that's a whole nother thing. But yeah,
there's lots of like phasing and stuff. Where things go like and all this kind of things around like doorways and whatnot. I don't know. Very strange.
Because
very strange.
Did you see Friendly Guy's video on Twitter?
I did. Well, unfriendly guys rant on Twitter.
That was friendly guy. That was pure bass coming out of his. No, because it's interesting because I recall, um, like the audio being better at dorms. Like you could hear him coming up the stairs and such. But I think maybe because he was like in the doorway and the door to the stairs was already open, so you got like the desync. Because I watched a video from Pastelli today where he kind of like talked about the subject, and he did some like dual PC tests showing both POVs, and I could kind of see how like the audio was like it wasn't exactly real time because obviously you got server client side discrepancy. But it's like I mean you can come up the stairs pretty fast, and if it's I say all that to say audio is still something good. Audio is still left to be desired of at the moment. So
Definitely.
any improvements are more than welcome.
For those that didn't see Friendly Guy's tweet video or whatever it was, he was basically reviewing. He said he was feeling ill, and it was like he was tilted as well on stream, and he was basically at the top of he was inside the building at the top of the stairs. The door is open, and he's like waiting for the guy to come up. And the first time he gets audio is when the guy is basically in the doorway.
Yeah.
And the dude starts shooting at him. He starts firing back, and in slow mo, you can see the guys continue. Like he moves out of the room that he's in into the hallway, and the guy just continues to fire out the doorway, and then eventually kills him. Right, because as far as the player's model on Friendly Guy's screen is concerned, he is still shooting at. Like, I mean, at that point, it's kind of like, the server's gone to the guy. He sent it back to the server. The server sent it back to Friendly Guy, like from his POV. I mean, on his screen, he's still in the doorway, and he's still shooting at him in the doorway. And he was very angry, saying, like, this guy's basically killed me in the doorway. He doesn't even know that I've moved. I didn't hear his audio until he literally came up, like, right at the top of the metal stairs. If I'd heard him, I would have pushed out. So, yes, it's pretty nuts. I saw there was a video that Tiggs posted somewhere, which was on labs. And there's it's one of those like big, the big stairwells on labs, just one of those. And there's a door where on the other side of it, if you're on one side, if you're on the wrong side, basically, can't hear anybody on the other side at all. So the first time that you hear them is when they literally step into the corridor, which is insane. So yeah, there's stuff to fix. There's stuff to fix.
The other weird thing about customs dorms is the more I think about it, I'm pretty sure because like Steam audio, if you were on second floor, you couldn't hear anything outside on the ground level, if you will, like the grass. But now, if they hit a bush, dude, that bush is like clear as day. But I don't think the grass makes any noise. Like it's very, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I want to say it does, but now that I'm thinking about it more, and after watching Pastelli's video where he also hit a bush and it was loud, clear as day, I think that it doesn't actually make noise. It's only the bushes. But it's just weird how one engine / I shouldn't say engine, but one plugin versus another, just two different outcomes.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen his video actually. I should go and watch that. But you can imagine it's something to do with the layering. We've seen previously it's things like the way that they get like footsteps. Like if you lie down, you can hear the floor below, but if you stood up, you can't. Like there's the slight overlapping of different occlusion zones and all this stuff. And if somebody's walking, then it's the sound source is probably at ground level. Whereas if someone hits the bush, the sound source is probably 1 foot up or 2 feet up or whatever it is. I have noticed that I think that Oculus audio is slightly more accurate when it comes to like where the sounds are placed for some reason. They are slightly delayed, which is a bit annoying, and so hopefully that gets resolved as well. But I keep freaking myself out because bushes kind of rustle behind me and it's just me, but it's me kind of like, brushing into a bush behind, and it is actually behind. So I feel that that's actually maybe like potentially better in the future if they can just tweak it a bit so that it sounds a bit more realistic. I keep like swinging around there and I'm like, and it's just me. I like kick the bush with the back of my heel or something. There's a low shrub outside of a gas station on customs. It's like if you're coming in from the sort of like train, like railway bridge bit, and you go through that sort of scrubland area. It's like over on the left by the wall. And I said to chat at the time, I was like, it doesn't slow you down, but I didn't even realize that bush made a sound. So I just like freaked myself out by kicking it by accident on my way through. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So, new version of DLSS. I'm not sure if like some people use it, I guess, but there's. I think the thing that people are hoping for here is that it fixes the inside of the scopes, which is kind of like weird, pixely, blurry, low quality, or whatever at the moment. I think people are hoping that that gets fixed. I guess this probably comes hand in hand. I'm going to skip right to the end and just join these together because the very last bullet point that they put in here was transition to Unity 2021. Now, I'm not an expert at all in any of this stuff, so I literally just have to go off what I saw people writing about. People seem to think that Unity 2021 is a big deal. Some people were talking about how it could potentially be beneficial for the picture-in-picture scope stuff. And maybe it goes hand in hand with the new version of DLSS. I don't know. That's just pure speculation. So I'm not 100% sure what that will do. Higher versions of Unity, always going to be a good thing for the game and stability and optimization and blah, 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 right? Like getting themselves up to a pretty recent version is actually good news just in general. And hopefully will allow them to do more things. So I don't know. We'll see. You actually might know a bit more about the DLSS than me, honestly, about which one we're on.
I think we're on 2, but I'm not sure. I was just looking up. I don't really know what improvements are on 3 because it looks like 3 is relatively new. Yeah, so I'm not really sure. I haven't. It looks like it's very like 3 weeks ago new. Yeah, I don't know, but I will say for Unity 2021, it could be a big deal. It was a really hype thing in Rust back in the day.
Okay.
They were hyping it up for HDR, high definition render pipeline, HDRP or something. And looking at, I mean, like it's mostly graphical stuff, and I guess like how it processes that, efficiency, things like this. But looking at Unity's sort of like advert for it or whatever, there's some interesting things that caught my eye that could be a big deal. So I'll treat off a couple like lines here, and then maybe I'll do some details on it. But like advanced physics-based surfaces, okay, whatever. Immersive lighting, that catches my eye because lighting in Tarkov is kind of a thing. Advanced light type shadow options, light attenuation, real world units, ray tracing. There's a lot of jargon here, whatever. Not really sure. Also not a expert in this as well. Speculator atmosphere, volumetric fog, local volumetric fog. Pog, because this kind of ties in with
the next point.
Yes, which is
on the list. Yes, which is the visual corrections to remove fog inside rooms, basements, bunkers on a reserve and interchange, which could be huge.
Could be.
It could be huge. I'm never going to say will. Now it'll be pitch black, and you're just not going to be able to see anything.
Yeah, we'll see. It is. I know, like Axel was posting some screenshots of. I assume it's Tarkov SP. I mean, it has to be, right? But you can't say it is. But where you remove the fog in some of the underground places, and it looks a little too, like it just doesn't look right. You know what I mean? Like everything's almost too clear, but it's also like everything's also dark because
everything's really dark. That was the thing that surprised me.
Yeah, it's weird because the fog itself kind of adds some, fake lighting to it, if you will. You know what I mean?
Glow or something weird. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it actually like displaces light or anything like that. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But anyways, because even in like Tarkov SP, I don't like removing fog. I like to have it like just a little lower. There's like weather fog, and then there's also like just a global fog, essentially. But so volumetric fog, it reacts to lighting and things of that nature, if I'm not mistaken. So it could be very huge. Getting the indoors looking more appropriately with aligning changed. There was one, because we talked about a while ago. We talked about the whole, filters or whatever that got banned. One of the things that someone
Yeah.
talked about, which is like, oh yeah, that really makes a lot of sense, is you don't have your. And some games do this, is where like you go from inside outside, which I think Tarkov technically does this a little bit. Possibly, I'm not sure now, but your eyes, your video game character eyes don't adjust for those bright and dark areas. You know what I mean? Have you ever been playing a game where like it's really bright and like like you're coming out into the to sunlight and it's really bright at first and then everything kind of like
And it dims, yeah.
right, and then you go into a dark, you're looking into a dark area and you can't see anything. And you go inside and it sort of like becomes a little bit more visible and vibrant. I kind of wish we had something like that, because even in like the finals, they had a mechanic similar to that. It was like cranked up to the nines, dude. It was like so extreme. You literally could not see inside the building, and then when you go inside, it's like, oh, I can see inside the building, and then you look out, and then the sun's like super bright, and you can't see outside. It was just, they had it like way too extreme. But yeah, that would be another solution you could do, is sort of have this, because it makes a very interesting gameplay mechanic where you need to factor in where the light is, where you are within the light, how does that affect your vision, like your in-game vision, things like this. So yeah, there's some other stuff here, but I won't go over it. Those were the ones that seem to stick out the most for me.
Cool. Yeah, I guess like that sort of fixes the dynamic range a bit in some ways, because it's like you're kind of automatically adjusting your, and probably not, the gamma's probably the wrong word for it, but you're adjusting something when you go inside versus being outside, right? It's like having two different settings for inside, outside, or dark areas, light areas, without you having to manually fiddle with stuff, like with the LUTs or with your settings.
Yeah,
That's why it's kind of cool. Actually, I think the first game that I played that even had that, I think there was like an update to like CS Source once upon a time, and I saw it for the very first time in a video game. I think it was on CS Source, and they added like HDR and bloom, and it did that. It had that kind of effect, like you went outside and it was like really bright, and then darkened down, and then same the other way, which is pretty neat. I got CS on the brain now because I was talking about CS2.
Speaking of volumetric fog, did you guys see that smoke grenade? What? That changes everything.
Yeah, CS2 looks pretty cool.
It does look pretty cool. Honest, seeing it, it's like, wow, why haven't, it's like, this should have been a thing from the beginning. Like every video game should be like this, but
yeah,
it looks cool. Don't know if I'll play it.
Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure. So, geometry and lighting fixes for Streets of Tarkov. That's again maybe related, maybe just more of the same. They're just fixing lots of stuff as it comes through because it's a new map. Don't know.
Right.
Then we've got networking fixes, connection stability, reducing number of disconnects whilst loading into a raid. I mean, I don't really suffer that much from those, but I know some people do. So I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Bug fixes in the group system and AI, fine. And then improvements to the UI for putting offers on the flee based on the previous balancing changes. I don't know what this means. Do you have any idea what this might actually be?
I mean, I assume they're going to rework the UI to match the change where you can't sell barter, or you can't sell things for other things. You can only sell for money now, right?
Is it still an option at the moment, but just grayed out or something?
You told me. I don't know.
It's one of those things because, and the thing, like even if you had, you probably wouldn't know, because it's one of those ones where if you don't do barter trades and don't actually set up barter trades, like I never do, then you just ignore all those options, right? And so if that menu had changed, or if it had disappeared, I'd probably notice. But if they've just left it in and it's like grayed out, or you can't click the box, I'd never tell. I'd never be able to tell you that that has happened, because I'd never click it, right? Like when I'm using the flee, I'm practically on autopilot. Like I couldn't tell you what buttons I clicked after I did it anymore, because it's just so like, this one, click, join selected, and to do that, and put it up and look at the thing and put the number in. Like it's so automatic that I don't know. Okay, it probably is that. It probably is that. Probably removing that whole feature.
Yeah, it could be more. It could be a complete, improvement, like almost a redesign. We shall see.
Yeah, one really cool thing about the player barters being removed is now you can actually uncheck the remove barters filter and save it. And now you only see the trader barters when you look stuff up because all the player barters are gone.
Oh yeah,
And
that's nice.
it's actually really neat because now when you're looking stuff up, you're like, oh, there's a barter for this. Because I always have them filtered out because each item is just filled with just junk barters from players before. But now you just stumble into them and go like, oh, this is cool because there's a barter here for this, and check what it is. Okay, well, that's not good, but I'll remember. It's like it helps you to actually figure
Yeah.
out what those are rather than rather than having to go through the actual menus or see it in a YouTube tutorial or whatever. There's actually quite a nice accidental quality of life thing that's appeared there. I still think Fence 4 should allow Fence to appear on the flea. I think that'd be enormous for Fence. Having to go specifically to him and click the buttons there. Because people always say to me, they're like, oh yeah, but you can get a zeroed out Corund really cheaply on the and a zeroed out Gen 4 on Fence. I'm like, you have to actually physically go manually check, refresh it, look, click and buy it before someone else does. It's such a pain in the ass. It's like it's its own special little marketplace. I never even remember. I don't have Fence 4 this white, but I just never remember to even go and look. Yeah, you can get some bargains. You can buy lower half face masks and trade them for a packer and then craft them into aramids and whatever. Right? There's ways to monetize it, but just
Yeah.
I just can't. I just don't remember to go. It's just it's not part of my gameplay loop. And most of the time, then I go and refresh it and I look and it's just all the same crap. The usual rubbish, and there's nothing interesting in there. I'm like, why did I bother coming over here? So I don't know.
The other
I don't know.
one that we should mention, notification system for banned cheaters based on the player reports.
Oh, I skipped it. Yes, I skipped that one.
What? Dude, that's huge. I mean, I'm going to be a dick here and say it, but why does it come in?
I want my items back.
Well, that too. But why this wasn't I don't know. It's just common. I just feel like this is standard gaming practice in my opinion, but maybe I'm
why it wasn't there originally.
Maybe I'm too privileged, in my gamers ways, but
you know what the Tarkov philosophy is, that you can't expect to get an extraordinary result by doing the same thing as everybody else, Church. So they just ignore all of the modern gaming standards and just do that. They just forge their own path.
Yes,
because by nearly looking at what the standards are, that would taint the purity of Escape from Tarkov's development cycle.
Right.
And we've got to take the downs with the ups. That's it. That's the answer.
But
that's the answer.
It's coming. That's
yeah.
That's really good. So
it's good.
Next phase, get the people some, what is it? Cheating insurance, whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, some kind of cheat return.
That's a more newer thing. I haven't really seen any other.
That's a cycle thing specifically.
Yeah, there might be some. There's probably another game out there that's done something similar. Right. I would imagine. Probably some obscure RPG online, Final Fantasy online or some bullshit.
I guess the issue is that you have to have enough cheaters, right, and be losing gear. So it's kind of it's like an extraction shooter specific thing.
Right.
Normally when you get hacked on, it doesn't do anything to your account in most games.
Just
whereas
annoying.
For us, it's just annoying. Whereas for us, it's they can't give you your time back, so it's just whatever. You just get told and they've been banned. But for us, it's you actually lose stuff. So it's tricky. I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. I don't know when we're going to see these things, but I guess they're soon TM because they're on this list. We shall see. So that's the changes fixed plan thing. The next part, which is another update that they did, is a big set of scav buffs, which is kind of intriguing. I don't really know why they did this.
Me neither.
If I'm honest. It seems very random. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Fence reputation bonuses have been improved if you have higher fence reputation. So that means all the random stuff, like number of available exits and that kind of thing, depending what your fence rep is. Now, there was a big list. Logical put up a big list, but I can't remember what it was before, and it's there's too much data. So, needless to say, those things are a bit better than they were previously. Bosses are still hostile to you until you're Karma level 6, so that hasn't really changed. But I think a few of the other bits, some of the modifiers, have changed and stuff. I think they did actually give you a little list So what was it like? So you get some bonuses like a max level defense restocks items more frequently, prioritizes high quality items. Like, okay, maybe it's enough to go and look. I don't know. Scav PMC extras give more reputation. It's like, all right, vehicle extra discounts are increased. Well, they're already like 8,000 rubles anyway, so that like doesn't really make any difference. And fence reputation bonus have improved. Oh wait, did they write it twice? Fence pays more for items sold to him. Scav characters have a higher chance of getting better equipment. Scav character cooldown is reduced. Scav box time is reduced. Available Scav extra is increased. Okay, so there's like some of the stuff they said, and I think they messed their tweet up a little bit, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm not sure. Like, yeah, okay,
Right.
you know,
Kind of similarly how I felt about all the quest stuff. I mean, like it's good that they. I think it was actually Pastilia that kind of got that suggested to them. I remember him mentioning like there was some of these quests where like the XP gains. You're doing like other quests in this similar range and getting like 7,000, and then you would do like this one quest in the similar range of level, and you would get like 2,000. It just didn't make any sense. So like because they added all these new quests, like they kind of had to like do some rebalancing, which is fine. But there was like quest buffs. It's like, okay, yeah, like, I don't know. It's just what, I'll take it. I'm not, I mean, I kind of am complaining, but I just, I don't understand, right? Same thing with this is like, but why? But why?
Yeah, maybe it's to help for the players who are kind of, struggling a bit more, like midwife, whatever. Like,
but
Scav primarily benefits players at the bottom, so I don't mind.
Yeah, but doesn't this buff the top end of Scav players as well? Or
who's the top end of Scav players? What does that mean exactly?
Like higher, like high rep, right? Like at max level.
Yeah, this is true.
Or is it
incentivizes you to play Scav more. But what I'm saying is, like the Scav players tend to be like the Scav mains tend to be lower PMC level. So this benefits players with a lower PMC level is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I get that. I just like, but overall, this is a. It's like they're trying to incentivize you to play Scav more, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't really. That's the thing. That's the thing I don't understand. I don't know why. Like Scav character cooldown is reduced. I think that would be fine on its own. Honestly,
that's what I was gonna say. Is like if they wanted to just help out, I guess that helps out everyone because it's a lower cooldown.
I definitely don't use my Scav every time it's on cooldown though. This is the thing.
Yeah,
like, it'll help some people, but
you could. I was watching Jesse's because I was scrubbing through his VODs, and literally every time he's dead, like if he's playing the duos and he dies, which makes I guess that's a good good reason to Scav, and probably a lot of people do it. Now think about
just
when you're
back
playing.
Into his raid, or does he Scav somewhere else? Do you
just Scav somewhere else. Yeah, okay. Like he'll go wherever, and which I mean makes sense, right? If you're in a squad and you die, like you could just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Like me personally, I don't do that. I just instead alt tab and watch, videos until the raid's over. But it makes sense because you're kind of like giving up. If you're not using your Scav while it's on cooldown, when's the most opportune time to use it to like maximize your PMC time? Like if you're playing squads, like you want to be playing PMC with your teammates, and then when you're not doing that, like you could Scav and you want to use it on cooldown to get, it makes sense. It makes sense. So it's yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's an interesting change. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess they want more people to play Scav, perhaps.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the way that I see it. Is it's a little bonus for people who tend to play Scav more often, which tends to be lower tier players, and that's fine by me. People who are like worried about their economy or find it difficult to make money or die a lot on their PMC or whatever. Like people who are high level and like experienced like multiple wipes tend not to use their Scav as much, and like they might be using it between raids or whatever to wait for their friends, but it's not like they're not like relying on it to make money or anything like that. So lower cooldowns, whatever, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. So yeah, that's good. Scav mains rejoice. Scav mains rejoice. So I think that's all of the news. Is there anything else? I guess we should. I mean, we can touch very briefly. I brushed over it before. The 2 ammo changes. We may as well just say. I don't know why they did this now. It seems a bit random. Maybe it's just to buff them, just to see what happens. But like 2 rounds in 545 got buffed. So BS, as we talked about before, that got buffed from 51 pen to 52 pen. So to put it in context, 47 pen is a 50-50, basically it's 55%, but it's a 50-50 against class 5. And 57 pen is a 50-50 against class 6, right? So 51 and 52, the difference between those in a pen sense is not really very, very great because it practically also pens class 5, and it doesn't pen class 6 very often, either at 51 or 52. So the only thing that really matters for is like multiple shots into like a bigger armor, where you're like wearing down the actual durability, and like, you know, shot 3 or 4 or whatever now has a high percentage chance on it because their armor is lower or whatever. Like those are the places where it matters the most. I think it probably doesn't matter that much for BS. BT, BT is actually an interesting one. So that's from 40 to 42. It's quite a big boost. Most of the time, if you're using it at point blank, again, it doesn't really matter because against something like maybe against a Karund and, you know, some of the class 5s or whatever, you may kill them in 1 shot less now with BT as you're wearing down the armor, especially with things like the Karund and the Gazelle and those kind of like lower tier class 5s, because they rely heavily on the protection from class 5 to stop you dying, and they have lower durability, and those kind of like mid tier rounds actually don't do terrible armor damage, and so they can tear a Karund or a Gazelle down eventually. So that can make a big difference. But I think almost where it might matter more for BT is it allows you to reach out a lot further with that gun and still tap people in class 4 helmets. Because the issue that you have is the pen starts to drop and drop and drop and drop. And if you're using something like, this is always kind of an issue with 5.6A1, if you're using that, which is MX 5.6A1 for 5.56 is 37 pen, which is 50-50 against class 4 at point blank. And if you shoot somebody at long range with it, you're starting to drop your pen down to 36, 35, 34. And then you're talking about like 30, 40% pen chances against someone's helmet, which is kind of nasty, actually. It's like it's kind of bad. It's like you don't really want that. Whereas with BT, you can now probably shoot somebody up to 150, 200 meters and still be pretty sure that it's going to go through a class 4, even if you only hit them on the side of the head. The damage thing, I mean, BT still actually has good damage relatively, so it's probably okay. To be honest, it actually might not be. It actually might not be. So I guess it does. The pen helps with how much damage goes through though when you pen 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the BT one is pretty good. 40 to 42. Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's nice. I like that.
Exactly. Because like the way that it is, so the way it was 40 before, right? And they've slowly buffed this up. This used to be 37. They've slowly buffed BT over time. It was 37, and then it was 40, and now it's 42. I think that's probably fair enough. What they've done. I'm just going to let's just look at this very, very quickly. Yeah. So previously, even if you shot somebody at point blank, I'm not sure if it actually helps. Interestingly. I'm actually not sure if it helps. I don't think it has enough damage. I think it's because it only does 42 damage. I feel like even at 42 pen, I still think you lose too much through class 4. I guess it doesn't really help actually. It doesn't help for BT. I thought that was going to help, but it doesn't. You'd actually need the pen to be quite a bit higher, like 45 or something, before you can one-tap a class 4. Yeah. I'm actually going to do something on this at some point, I think, because I'm kind of intrigued as to like which helmets will and will not allow you to survive a shot. I think there's an interesting case where there's like a couple of rounds where if you get shot and it pens, you don't die even when it penned because of the damage reduction on a round that's like around 40 pen on a class 4, and the reduction is like 20% or something. So if your damage is anywhere between 40 and 43 or whatever, it's like 35 and 43, then it won't kill you in one hit. It's the APSX problem, right? APSX pens basically all the helmets in the game instantly, but because it has precisely 35 damage, it never one-taps anybody in the head, because even if you press it right up to somebody, you click, it does 34.9 damage because of the damage drop off, and they don't die.
Yep.
It's something that's always bugged me actually, and yeah, I think they should change it. I might even suggest that, honestly. I might actually make an official suggestion.
Whoa.
Because
Slow
people have talked
down,
about it a
Giga.
lot, about the head hitbox stuff and the not being able to one tap people over range. Even if you get a pen, it's just bad. It's just bad. So I don't know. No, I'll mull myself on it. I'll mull my thoughts and think about it. Yeah. So that was the other change that was notable. Other than that, I think that's it, right? That's all the newsy stuff. If I'm not mistaken. Cool. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, actually, this pretty much falls neatly into that category, was a website which has been created by one of the guys who frequents my Discord fairly regularly. He's called like Vasily in my Discord. He's called Xerxes elsewhere, and it's called TarkovGunsmith.com. And it's an interesting tool that he's built, which I've basically been talking to him for a while. Like the original idea for this site, and I'm actually going to I'll put the site just in chat here, but for people listening to this separately, it is just tarkovgunsmith.com, and that'll take you there. So there was like a couple of different modules. The idea originally was to use like the information about various attachments and different guns and that kind of thing to be able to automatically work out like what the meta weapons are and what's the kind of min recoil and like what the optimized builds are and that kind of thing. That was the original idea. I think that was the project that he was looking at to begin with. And I've always been kind of like, supportive and, I'll test it and whatnot. But it doesn't interest me that much just because I tend to know what I want to build anyway. And like, yeah, occasionally it can come out with some interesting things, but often there's I don't know, it's quite tricky to like right now it doesn't, there's no kind of like middle ground optimization, right? Like there's no way, and he's adding some extra things in, but right now you can't say like, I want to make the min recoil gun, but then I want the ergo to be above X,
Okay.
that kind of thing. Because that's how it works. It's like it does the first part of like the way that I usually build guns by default, which is what's the min recoil, and then we just change attachments until the ergo looks decent. You can do the first bit, but then not the second part. But I think he was looking at making some modifications to it so that every time you go for recoil, it always gives you the RK2, for example. So you could like X out the part and say, okay, don't use the RK2, use something else. And we were talking about like ways that you can get around this and do like some kind of optimized build. And the way that I think it should be done, and as I said, we had a conversation about this. So I don't know whether he'll do it or not. Was trying to kind of codify my process effectively is you build the minimum recoil build. Then what you do, and obviously it gets a bit complicated if there's like contingencies on the different parts, if one part relies on another or whatever, but like ignoring that for the moment, you then look at every part that you could possibly replace every part that's on your gun with, right? Just imagine it's a weapon where every single piece is just one for one, like usually like on the AKs, for example. You look at every other part and if you changed each individual part to every other part, what would that do on each step to the ergo and the recoil? So from the meta gun, changing it from the RK2 to the shift grip, to the RVG grip, to this grip, to that grip, and you tabulate through every single part what the ergo and what the recoil changes. Because what you're really looking for is the ratio of ergo to recoil. That's what you want, right? And so you say, okay, well, you can either do it in two different ways. You can say, I want the ergo to be at least like this number. And then you just systematically replace the parts that get you the highest ergo to recoil, like bang for buck, basically. So you change the RK2 out for something like, shift grip or whatever, like you lose 2% of recoil, but you gain, 16 ergonomics, stupid stuff like that, like changing out the PRS Gen 3 for the MOE with the butt pad on it, that kind of thing. That was kind of the idea. So you have this ratio and you have these parts and you say, okay, well, you either say like, I want ergo to be this, and so you just change out the best bang for buck parts until you get there, or something like I'm willing to replace a part if the ratio is above a certain number, something like that as well. So that's kind of like, I think, some ways that this is going to be extended. So it's kind of like, maybe that's interesting to some people. You can go and see what the lowest recall weapons are at the moment in this. But there's a new section to this site as well, which is kind of more up my street. And we've been talking about this a bit. And I've spoken previously a little bit about, like, you know, the work I've done on the ballistics and the armor damage and the pen chances and about the blunt damage and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a bit of a, you know, it's always a bit of a funny topic, because you kind of like start delving into kind of the fringes where it's not really, you just don't really know what is going to be, you know, what's okay and what's not okay, what BSG will like or not. And it's a bit of a gray area as to like how far you can go with this stuff. So the cool thing about this is that we basically like had a chat. I kind of like gave him a head start on a load of things, and he's gone off and like made this site on his own. And I'm pretty sure it's good. I've like done a bunch of tests with it, and I think it's pretty good. But it's like it's not affiliated with me, which is, you know, that's quite nice in some ways. But it's pretty cool. So what it does, it's a ballistic simulator. I guess it's a little bit like Battle Buddy, I suppose, but it's like a bit more specific. It's a bit more like the stuff that I do. So you pick an armor, and you could just search for it. So you could just pick like, you know, Karund, and then on the ammo, then you pick, you know, whatever, like BT. And then what it gives you is like a table. So it's like my ones, right? You're shooting at thorax in every single kind of test. It's like each bullet goes into the thorax, and it tells you kind of like how much damage is going to be done, what the pen chance is on each bullet, the amount of blunt damage, what the penetration damage would be, and then kind of like the cumulative chances to kill. A bit like the ways that my stuff works at the moment, which is neat, and it's very, very useful, because a lot of this stuff we basically ended up like going and working out how it works, and figuring it out. And this is just a nice place to put it. And originally there were some discrepancies, but they've kind of been worked out now. So I wanted to mention it because it's good. It's obviously nobody really knows about it yet. There's like, guess people in my Discord, and that's about it right now, who know of its existence even. And I think it's pretty cool. Like it's basically the way, if people are interested in trying to get something that's similar to the tables that I put in my videos, or have been across the past kind of couple of weeks, this is really it. This is the closest thing to that. To be honest, it probably produces the same numbers in I would hope almost all cases. There may be some fringe cases where it's different. I don't know, because we're not doing this. We're not doing exactly the same thing, and if we are, it's by coincidence rather than by design. So it's certainly interesting. It's certainly cool, and it allows you to do things that we've just not really been able to do before. Like, see what the blunt and penetration damage should be for various rounds, and like do exactly this, right? If I put like a ULAC in and I have BT, you don't see the penetration damage even on shot one is like 33.77. So it won't kill player on the first hit, even with the upped pen of 42. So that stuff is very interesting, and I think it's worth a look at. I think it's worth a look
sounds
at
like
for anyone
it.
who's interested in that stuff, like I am.
I'm probably end up looking at it next swipe sometime once it comes around. I mean, at one point I was interested in some things because I was also following their channel and some related stuff to that type of data. Yeah, at the moment I'm just not really interested in that type of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, it's like a great tool to investigate and see what you can discover.
Yeah.
Any fringe cases, those are always the most interesting.
Yes, exactly. I think there was, because I was chatting to him the other day, and I think he said there was a way of doing a custom. Yeah, you can do, so up in the top right, there's actually like change mode to custom, and you can just like fiddle with stuff, which is really awesome. I didn't realize that he had that, because he was asking me about it and saying like, oh, you using my site and da da da. And I said, to be honest, not really, because I'm an Excel junkie at heart, and like I've got everything like spreadsheeted out, and I like to be able to change things, and I've got like, using the official stats isn't always that useful for certain things, like when they make changes or whatever. it's like, well, okay, now I've got BT, that's fine, but I want to have two profiles. I want to have like BT old and BT new, so I can like flick between them and see what the difference is, that kind of thing. And he's like, oh no, I have a custom mode on this thing, so you can do that. That's fine. I was like, oh, okay, you've thought of everything. I see. And when we were talking, the one piece that I really just don't have at all in any of my stuff is the ranging things, which is really interesting. The way that I do
Yeah.
it is I use tarkotballistics.com, which I've used forever. I've used that for the longest time. I talk about it in tons of videos, and I go to their site and I go to their calculator. And if I do need to look at something at 100 meters or whatever, I just look up that bullet, and then I just pull the damage and pen figures from them, and I just hard code that in on my side. That's always the way that I've done it for doing any calculations on mine, because each round has got a different, like, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, it's got a different ballistic coefficient. I think they all use the same profile broadly. I'm led to believe. I might be wrong on that, but I think they all have like broadly the same like ballistic profile for the calculation purposes. Which, I mean, it's fine. Right? It's complicated enough. We don't really need to add to this. But they have like different ballistic coefficients. So things like 9mm slows down faster, and the 7.62 54R bullets, they don't slow down as quickly. All of that kind of stuff. And so there's not like a one size fits all way of working that out. And it's not something that I've ever really been interested in doing. But I think, if you're delving into the programmatic side of it, like, these things are certainly possible. That's definitely not the way. I don't pull any data sources or anything like most of my, like, I'm completely like non-coding, right? So even I can code a tiny little bit, but it takes me forever. It's like somebody who's dabbled with video editing. Just it takes them forever to even do like the most basic things. Like I can do it eventually, but I spend like half my life on like Stack Exchange, like pulling bits of code and just trying to understand why stuff doesn't work. And so I just make sure everything that I do goes into Excel. So like one of my primary data sources and data pulls is going onto the ballistics page on the wiki and copy pasting the entire list and reformatting it in a readable format. It's like, that's kind of the stuff we're talking about. Whereas these guys, they've got like APIs and all sorts of data sources and feeds and things like this, which is just like, it's definitely out of my comfort zone. And I don't have the time or the inclination to learn how to do it. I just don't really want to. So anyway, I think that's going to come at some point on here, which is going to be awesome. So you'll be able to see you'll just be able to like flick through different ranges and be like, okay, what am I actually going to kill people with? Like if I use 85501, like how far can I touch out with that and still kill people through class 4 helmets and that kind of thing, which is practically useful because it's complicated with range because you have both the pen drops and the damage drops at the same time. So it's actually, because of the way that the system is designed, it's like doubly what should I say, doubly punishing, because the damage goes down, and then because the pen goes down, the amount of damage mitigated goes up. So you actually end up doing like even less damage on a damage that is already low, right? It's like if you're at point blank and you did some amount of damage and it was 20% mitigated, well, now you're doing a lower damage and now it's 30% mitigated because the pen's lower. So it's doubly so. So killing people at long range is actually really hard, and that's why people use the big bullets, because when you've got 70, 79, 80 damage, it doesn't matter anymore because you have to be firing a very long way to make them do 35.
Only you could boost your muzzle velocity, which then in turn would also boost your pen and damage of the bullet you're firing, hence the muzzle velocity boost. If only.
I really, really thought that when they implemented the 12-12 ballistics changes that was going to be how they did it. And it's a real shame that it doesn't work that way. It's a real shame that it doesn't work that way. I wish it did, because right now it's just a bit strange, right? Because I understand it probably would cause some balancing things that they'd need to figure out, but having each round be kind of like, the default round be based on, because each round has a default speed.
Mm-hmm.
So having that damage and pen be that round's default speed would make sense. And then if you're firing it faster with a longer rifle, then you get a bit of a boost. That would actually make sense. Whereas now it's a little bit strange. It doesn't always work like this, but I've talked about this. It was actually probably a long time ago now, so I'll remind people. But there was a situation for some guns, and I think this got fixed a little bit when they did the tweaks to it. But there were situations originally where because the damage and the pen of every bullet, or of like, let's say a individual single bullet that we're talking about, just one particular cartridge, because the damage and pen is fixed as the starting point, if you are firing it from a weapon that fires, let's say, a 5.56 bullet at 1,100 meters per second, and another shorty version that fires it at 700 meters per second, the damage and the pen starting point were identical for both of those cases. But because of the way that the ballistics works, the ballistics coefficient and all the parameters and all the properties of that round are obviously the same. The round that's at 1,100 meters per second speed slows down more quickly than the one at 700, right? Because it's going faster, so it has higher air resistance. Which was meaning that the faster bullets with the longer cartridges were actually losing more damage and pen at the same distance. So if you hit somebody at 200 meters with both of them, the one at 700 has only gone from 700 to 650, but the one at 1,100 has gone to 900. And because the scaling of the damage and pen is directly proportional to the change in speed, you then do less damage at the same distance with the long rifle than with the short one. And that was a really weird unintended consequence. I don't think that's the same anymore for the M4, but like that was just really odd.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it is kind of weird. Like the fact that you do, in some cases, maybe you know, extreme cases, we'll say 200 meters of like, SS 193, we'll say, you can do like you have more pen and like more damage than with SS 190, but which is weird because you're literally aiming like ridiculously. I mean, you have to lob the bullet at them, like a mortar. I don't know. Like, is that realistic? Does that make sense in the video game? I don't know that answer. But I do feel like you because I guess my gripe is more so that some of the attachments that like boost muzzle velocity, it's like you don't even it's like the last fucking thing that you care about. It's always about recoil and ergo. It'd be really cool if you could actually do some type of trade-off of like damage and recoil, or or ergo or whatever, via boosting your muzzle velocity of your gun with like barrels and muzzle attachments, etc. etc.
Yeah, because it makes a big difference over long range to be able to just hit more quickly. That's kind of the big bonus, right?
That's kind of what you're getting there. So yeah, you are correct. But I would also like to do more damage as well, because you really can't do more damage. Like imagine if you could basically build that AK 74U. That's a bad example. The one of 545 AK. Imagine you could modify it to where BS could one tap U-locks past 75 meters, because I don't think they can. I forget. I'm going on another tangent. I'm sorry, but this is another thing that I like take issue with is like the SAG AK. The one that they added a few wipes ago. I really, really like the AK. Like, I really like it. I think it's a cool gun. It has some great stats on it on paper. However, in practice, it sucks. AK. Yeah, it sucks. Okay, I know. Trust me, like guys, I'm a fan of it, but I'm saying it sucks. It sucks, and that's primarily because the ammo is in such a weird. It's like this DMR-y low recoil gun ish. I don't know what it is now. I haven't played, but like, back in the few wipes ago, or I guess last wipe ago is probably more accurate, before the recoil changes, most of the guns wiggled left and right sporadically when you when you fired them, essentially. But now that everything's a lot more vertical, it might be a little bit more viable, perhaps. But it still had like a fair amount of play to it. It wasn't like the most consistent single fire gun you could use. Not that any of them were, but like essentially, why use it when you could just use an RSS? Like, who cares that my ergo, that I get an extra 0.15 milliseconds when this thing kills them in the head all the time, unless you get a ricochet. Whereas the
Yeah.
SAG AK, like, what kind of ammo are you using? Are you using BT? Oh, well, you can kill them if they're wearing class 3 helmets at this range, but class 4, no chance. Oh, if you're using BS, you can kill them under 25 meters. But at which point, it's like, why am I using a semi-auto gun for under 20 meters one taps, And then if you're using a Golnick, it's like, yeah, you can never kill him in the head ever, or whatever. It's something like this. I can't remember the exact math on it, but it's just in a really wonky spot, and it's kind of unfortunate because the question then becomes like, why does that gun exist other than just to exist? You know what I mean? It feels like it serves no purpose in the game.
Yeah, it's like the way that I've always felt about the SAG AK is that it's kind of fighting against itself. It's like it's a weapon that wants to be used as a DMR in long range, and ammo that doesn't want to do that at all. So it's got this like internal conflict where it's like, yeah, you're like having to like think about like where you can and can't pen different class 4 helmets with the ammo you've got. It's just awkward. It's just like awkward weapon for that reason, which is just kind of unfortunate. It's like it's almost brilliant.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't quite work for whatever reason. Yeah.
But if it had like a base bonus muzzle velocity, or you could, you added parts that increased the muzzle velocity, and that in turn affected the bullet's performance, you could get more pin, quote unquote, you could get more. And then again, that might be a weird relationship where, like, how would that work? It buffs the muzzle velocity, which in turn buffs the damage and pin, but because it's getting a higher muzzle velocity, it's going to also fall off faster. You know what I mean? Like, there's some weird stuff
exactly.
on.
That's the thing. Like it, but then in that case, it's okay because that's where it's fine, right? So if the damage in the pen is like, even if it was linear, like it is
if it was
now,
linear, it'd be better.
If it was pinned to the actual speed, like the initial speed of the round, or the rounds, like, yes, the rounds damage and pen just like interpolates up or down depending on like what the actual velocity ends up being.
Yes.
Then it's okay to have the drop off be faster,
right?
Because it's like it starts up here. I mean, it's hard to sort of describe it in words, but it starts up here, and even though it falls off quicker, it'll always be above the round that's slower. You know what I mean? Because it will fall off faster, but by the time you get to the same, if you then look at it at a constant distance, if you look at it at 100 meters, 200 meters, it will always have more damage and it'll always have more pen. It will still fall off more quickly from its starting point, but the starting point is higher, so it actually ends up working out.
Yeah.
It's only because right now that the damage and pen is pinned, and then it's linear based on the fall off this like speed. That's just like, that's why it ends up being weird, and the one ends up like overshooting the other one. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I mean that would be cool though, because that would. It's also an interesting mechanic how you can get things like bolties to perform better than DMRs without it being like super artificial. Like you can. I know it's not like full realism, and some people are like, really, whatever, but it's like it's sort of a it's a gamey mechanic that kind of makes sense, that allows you to look at the stuff in game and go, okay, the bolties fire really fast. Like whether it's exactly how it is IRL, like I don't care, just get out, right? You can just make the bolties fire more quickly than the DMRs. So these give you it gives you faster bullet speed, it gives you more damage and pen, so you can hit headshots at further ranges, and got to have more penetration, whatever. That's like a way of making those guns better than their other counterparts and give them a reason to be used without veering too wildly off. Like this way, you don't have to be like, oh, bolties get a 1.5 times multiplier and all this kind of rubbish, right? It's like this feels a lot more natural. It fits within the game. It feels realistic and kind of immersive or whatever. Like exactly whether it mirrors the real life performance and velocity of these bullets is kind of by the by. It kind of does the intended purpose, which is to buff the guns that are basically used at the moment as sort of skill guns, just because people are bored and memeing, and actually gives them a real reason to be used, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think it'd be cool.
Diversity. Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing that was like kind of on this, like I mentioned before about balancing issues, because the very first thing that I went to go and check when this system was implemented was the MP153 with the longest barrel. Because I think we've talked about this before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because if that worked that way, the initial speed on a lot of the shotgun shells is not that high, really. But the 153 is so long, it actually boosts the speed of shotgun shells or shotgun pellets quite significantly. And the idea that I had in mind all the way back then which I'm still got lodged away back in my head just in case they ever decide to change this, is the 153 with Magnum Buckshot, because it would boost Magnum Buckshot. I mean, yeah, if they implemented it right now and just it just linearly changed it, it would boost it to the point at which you could one shot someone in the legs with the 153 with Magnum Buck, because it does 400 technically now, right? That's the theoretical max if you hit them with all 8. So you only need a small boost to get to the 440 threshold. You're pretty close.
Yeah, I wonder what the theoretical fall off distance would be. Would it be like under 20 meters that would work?
I'm not sure anymore. You still have to hit them with all the pellets, but it's,
right. But yeah, what would be the theoretical,
And that's the thing. It would just be even, like, you just kill them even quicker than you do now. Even if it takes 2, right? It's like, well, it takes slightly less than it did at longer ranges.
You could make the 7.62 by 54R, the BT one could be more. You might be able to boost it up to enough damage. Probably not, because what is it, 81? Yeah, you need a lot of like extra muzzle velocity stacked on top of it.
Oh no, we back to Mosin, man.
Only under 5 meters, it works. But it'd be something to
Tarkov Shooter Part 3.
It'd be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, PS is still 84 damage.
There's
they tick that
some
just underneath, but there's some that like play around the fringe. Exactly.
And I really hope they do some of these things. I don't know, because a lot of, like, honestly, some of the stuff you can just see in the Tarkov SP.
Right.
And I'm kind of waiting to check it out again. There's like a lot of, they're constantly, people are making their little mods, but one of the projects, the realism mod, I got my eye on, and I'm probably gonna check it out again. But they have that in there, and it's really God, I can't talk enough about. Did we talk about Nikita's stance that he took on Tarkov SP when he did that huge AMA?
I don't think we did.
Didn't? Oh, I wasn't sure if we did or didn't.
Maybe I can't remember.
I know,
I'm bad at remembering that kind of stuff.
Well, I'll just be brief. I was shook, Giga. I'm like, why? I don't understand. He basically, someone asked him, is like, have you considered, working with or, outsourcing or hiring these people that work on, these Tarkov SP mods or something like this? And he was like, no, we have like a strong zero tolerance for this type of behavior, and we're going to take action against them. And I don't know. It was I'd have to pull up the original post to get it, but it was
basically that.
It's very odd because, I don't know. I feel like we might have talked. Maybe I was talking to just chat in general, but anyways, it makes me sad, is all I'll say, because there's a lot of really cool stuff there, and
and it feels like a waste of potential. But anyway, yeah. Indeed. Well, I think that's all the Tarky stuff, right? That's all the Tarkov things. That's all that I have to say. There's not actually a huge amount going on. Honestly, in some ways, thank God, because like I've kind of had enough of all the ridiculous drama. Like, it's quite nice to go back to it just being a bit more chill for a bit. Like, I think I said last time, there's that weird weekend where like Twitter just stopped showing me Tarkov stuff because there wasn't anything interesting happening, and I was like, oh, it's actually kind of like a sigh of relief in some ways, not to have just something blowing up every single day, and just to have these like, here's the upcoming features from BSG. We've made some scav tweaks and we've changed BT a little bit. It's like, okay, this is nicer. This is much more gentle than it has been.
Did you? It's very interesting, their behavior right now, because they've been like tweeting a lot about their bans that they've been doing, and I guess maybe that's a new thing they're going to keep doing. I'm not really sure. Oh, we didn't talk about. God, I'm so like, I'm crazy. My brain. But the vaulting.
I did mention it last week, I think, because
wait.
I definitely mentioned. I definitely talked about vaulting last week because it was it was in that special meeting.
Oh yeah. Well, screw your special meeting. We got a screenshot from Nikita. What? Poggers.
Yeah, everyone says the bear in the photo, he's just assuming some kind of suspicious stance as opposed to any vaulting mechanics.
Yeah.
Most people are just like,
sick little.
that's the pose that I have when I'm going into labs.
No, I was yeah. I was looking at it and it looks kind of off. I mean, it's obviously like a phone screenshot, but I really hope that it doesn't take me out of first person and do like a third person animation.
Oh,
Oh
there's
my
no way
god.
it'll do
I
that.
know,
There's
I know.
no chance
There's
it'll do that. Don't
surely
even.
there's no way, surely, right?
There's no way.
So, that's my one um fear, but besides all the bugs that will come with it. But I mean, that's to be expected. But man, is that going to be the potential there is going to be amazing, for sure. So that's really hype when that comes.
Yeah, that is cool. I want to be able to walk over small sticks and not get stuck. And I want
want
to be able to go.
climb rocks and not power slide across to the other side and fall to my death. Yes.
Yeah, just like disappear off. Yeah. There's I would like to be able to. I think that the test of the vaulting system, I would like to be able to vault into the window on the downstairs of dorms 2
Oh yeah.
without using the chair.
Yeah, dude.
Just
Yeah,
use
for
the chair.
real.
Yeah, without doing that because that's just so bad. And to be honest, even using the garbage can on the other side to get into bathrooms on dorms 3, it's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be very interesting. People getting into all sorts of places, as chat's saying.
Dude,
A whole new world of bugs and exploits.
I've played my fair share of first person shooters, and some of them would have like wonkier Quake, or it was I guess like Quake 3 engine, it has some more wonkier physics, and you could do these like trick jumps and get, if you like jump to turn your mouse and also press this key, you could like, whatever, air strafe. And man, Tarkov physics for jumping is like the most infuriating thing. Have you ever just wanted to like jump up on a ledge and you jump and like you move too far forward? Yeah. And it's like, what key do I need to press to get the right combination of? It's like infuriating. So if the jumping may not get improved, but if the vaulting gets in, man, that would just take out so much pain. It'd be great.
Yeah, even just like little barriers on interchange and stuff so you can get over the street without having to do a full jump and lose all your stamina. There's actually nothing more annoying than like being near the extract heavy and then you're like waiting for your stamina to come back so you can jump over a small, like, tiny little metal fence. It's really annoying. It's gonna be good.
Yeah,
that's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I hope that comes soon. I
think I imagine it's gotta come with Arena. That's my hunch.
Oh, interesting.
I think
maybe, yeah.
I think the big gear up for the end of this year is like the Arena, the next wipe, obviously, the next one, and whatever else they got cooking. But I mean, I just feel like we're nearing something, closer towards that 1.0 Tarkov multi-cinematic universe. Whatever they got cooking up there. I don't know. There's such a interesting company, but yeah. One thing I did want to mention was I guess I must have missed it, man, but I was editing and I remember hearing Jesse and Erwin talking about keys of maps you were on spawn more often. Is this a thing?
I have no idea.
Damn you. Yeah, you're probably the wrong person to ask because you're not a keys.
Not a keys guy, really.
Yeah.
Not really a big jacket looter or keys guy, particularly. I don't know if that's true. I'm just trying to think now in my mind whether that has been the case or not. I mean, I guess it would kind of make sense in some ways. Like, I hardly ever do jackets on Shoreline. I just never have any of those keys. But I always have all the customs keys. And I do loot jackets on customs. So very, very, very broadly, maybe I agree. I have no idea if that's true or not.
Okay.
It makes sense, though.
I mean, I feel like it sounds familiar, like it's something we would have talked about, but there's, I've been so like, this is by far the wipe that I've been the most like, unaligned or out of sync with Tarkov.
I think that's fine though as well because I think most
keeping
people
up with the
like,
Tarkovians.
Exactly. I think if for people who are taking a break, like this was the wipe to take it, just because so many things have been in a rough spot.
Yeah.
Both community and some of the game technicalities, audio, and the ongoing networking and streets performance and yada yada. Right, it's like all of that stuff. It's not a terrible one, which is like crazy, right? If you told us a year ago that the wipe would be taking off with the one that Streets came in, like you'd think we were insane. But such is the reality.
But Giga, it's
Dude.
only Streets Part 1. It doesn't count then.
It's only Streets Part 1. The performance can only get worse from here, Church.
You mean better, right?
Dude, I had a friend message me. Like I only speak to every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Hey, how's the Tarkov stuff going? I watched this really interesting video the other day about how." I was like, "Oh my god!" Like he really did. Like, I was like, "Yeah." It's just like the widespreadness of it. It's still amazing.
You're talking about Goat's video, the cheating one, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, "I saw this crazy video about people, wiggling at each other and stuff."
Have you seen this video?
It was just wild though to have somebody come and be like, "Hey, I saw this," and he's like, never watches a Tarkov video ever, right? Like, he just wouldn't. He played with me like 2 raids or something like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not in his kind of universe. And then it's just like it just reminds you of like the far-reaching nature of some of these things. It's like I think it's easy in the content world to kind of forget about the reach sometimes, because you see videos with like high numbers on all the time. So then actually remember that like a video that gets seen by like 2 million people is a good chance that people that who absolutely don't follow the game have like actually watched this stuff. Like it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
It was quite intriguing. It was quite intriguing. Yeah.
Funnily enough, there's some polls over on the Spotify channel for ScavTalk, and now it's an extremely small sample size, but we asked how many people were or stopped playing the game because of Goat's video, and 25 votes came in, which again, I can't reiterate enough, very small sample size, but 80% said they did not stop playing because of Goat's video, which I thought, oh, okay, that's that's nice. They probably just stopped playing because of the patch. That's what
I know. I was gonna say, like, you didn't.
They were already not playing.
You didn't capture the rest of it, which exactly.
That's a fail part on my data collection analytics. But interestingly enough, another fun fact for you: are you planning on unlocking Lightkeeper? 17 votes, 100% said no. So I would love to see a bigger sample size of that, obviously, but it's a patch, man. We only get 2 of them per. That's not true. Sometimes we get a mid. Maybe. Do you think we're getting? We got to be. Hold up. We got to be in mid patch territory soon, because they just did the announcement about the all the things that are coming. So there's got to be some type of patch, and with that patch, there's got to be some type of content, right?
You mean like mid wipe, or you mean for next wipe?
Mid wipe. Sometimes we get the mid wipe updates. Like, remember when they did they added heavy bleeds? I think that was like mid wipe.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we do get them sometimes. I'm not sure if we will this time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get any like content wise. Maybe a new gun. One of the AKs was being teased on Reddit. He was like,
another AK.
Yeah, imagine.
That's what we were waiting for. Glock animations.
It's which AK was it? I think it's like the most modern AK currently. Like, I don't even know.
Big AK buff. Is the AK-12 or something?
Yeah, I think it's AK-12 or AK-15. I think it's one of the two. Yeah, someone says AK-12. It's probably one of those, but it's another AK. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Dude, in like it only just occurred to me that it's basically the end of March. It's like we are pretty much 3 months in.
Yeah.
To this wipe. So we got another 3 months, and then presumably another wipe. I mean, I guess. I mean,
Perhaps.
I imagine if there was not going to be, or something was going to change, I imagine now would be the time. Maybe have a longer one or something, just because they said that they're working on, the fixes to the game as opposed to, well, fixes to the game over content for the most part, especially like new features or whatever. So we'll see the things that are coming soon, but we're not going to see anything like super new that they haven't announced before or anything like that. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Like if they've not got anything to put in there because it's all just fixes or whatever. Like I wonder whether we would wipe or not. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure.
As always, time will tell.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean the whole gaming sphere. I mean, just like moving away from Tarky just to like finish, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a few random like rumbling on topics that are just like broadly interesting. I did actually see something very sad, which was about digital media and the value of piracy and keeping games alive and that kind of thing. Like Battlefield Bad Company 2 is being shut down, which is one of those things where like, was I ever going to play the game again? No. Am I sad that it's getting closed down forever? Yeah, a little bit. Like it's a great game, right? And there's like, I don't know, I saw a whole bunch of posts recently about games getting closed, and even some things like some single player stuff like Mirror's Edge and things being removed from like the PlayStation Store and stuff like that.
Now,
I
see
don't like it's
that I think like why is my question on that one. I mean, it's got to be EA's involvement. EA has to be behind it for some reason. Why take
it's
down Mirror's Edge
odd.
from the store? Why?
They say like, oh, we're looking to move forwards or whatever. It's like this doesn't even make any sense. But like it's the interesting
What?
thing of, especially for these single players, and I think there was some stuff with the Nintendo store as well. People were talking about that I saw. The interesting part is that like, yeah, you can still get these games if you're willing to pirate them,
Yeah.
which is quite fascinating, right? It's like almost sort of keeping these things archived.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big, with like retro gaming and stuff, there is this whole, preservation or things like this. And, these things obviously involve piracy on some level. Potentially, I mean, you can make the argument like, oh, yeah, I've owned X game, so it's not really like I bought it, so it's not really piracy.
I think that I actually, if I remember correctly, I think that technically works in some cases, especially when you're looking at like
Yeah.
emulators.
Yeah.
Because with emulators, I think you're actually allowed to have the. Oh, maybe I'm not. I can't actually remember now. But there's like the BIOS thing that you always had to like get separately.
Right.
It never came with the things. But if you actually own the console, then you were like technically allowed to. Like, not that anybody ever would get stopped for emulating a console on their PC, right? Like, where's just like it's just, let's be real. But technically speaking, it's like if you own the legit media, then fair enough. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one. It was definitely an interesting one. I don't know. I was a bit sad. Yeah, I was a bit sad. I was like, I guess like things with multiplayer with game servers and stuff, I can kind of see it. There's like no one playing and
Yeah. Right.
so many
Right.
games these days, and you have to host things and
Right.
keep things open for it, whatever. I guess like the other interesting thing that's sort of going on is just like the general downfall of Twitch that appears to be happening, which is quite interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it's a slow burn, down from 40,000 feet with the engines on fire, it seems. But I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm not really sure where it's going to go because there's lots of people talking about stuff. So I mean, the things that have happened so far, seemingly, is I mean, just the ongoing community malaise within Twitch in general. Like lots of people leaving and going to YouTube, especially like big creators, and Twitch not really either caring or being able to do anything about it. And the senior management, they're not really caring about what happens. And the fact that they've got one of the worst splits in the whole industry for creators. Like Twitch takes 50% of all subs, and they basically try to move everybody away from donations to subs and bits to get badges and all sorts of fun stuff so that Twitch gets paid, because donors they don't get paid anything for donations. So that's why it made subscribing to people super seamless, because it gets to take half, which is like the highest, as I said, in the industry. But it's just a bit strange because like right now they're going through like massive layoffs in Twitch. I think
Yeah.
they've let a load of people go as well, which doesn't really bode well. And you've got the rise of this new streaming platform, Kick, which is the one that's like super controversial. because it's basically Twitch. Like they've just used the Amazon Web Services because Twitch is part of Amazon. A lot of the value of that company is the Twitch like platform kind of template, I suppose. And you can actually just pay Amazon to use the Twitch like format or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can just host it on like Amazon Web Services as a streaming platform, and it looks very, it can look very much like Twitch. It's like all the back end and all of that kind of stuff. Like the infrastructure of Twitch is really the IP of like why Twitch is valuable in the first place. So these kick people have just practically copied it, which is fine. But they've got some like insane model where you get like 95% of subs and all sorts of crazy stuff. But then they're backed by one of the gambling companies, so it's all a bit
sus.
It's all a bit, yeah. It's just I think people are just suspicious of it in general, and people even thinking like selfishly, because some creators are thinking, well, maybe I'll move over or whatever. Like if I'm sort of stagnating over on Twitch and people are leaving, it's not feeling great, I'll move and like maybe I'll get to take home some more of the money and like less goes to the site and stuff. But I think the thing that people are concerned about is this going to be some kind of like weird rug pull where everybody moves over and then it's like it's difficult moving platform. You lose people, you have to rebuild a bit, like it's hard. And then what if the 95 goes away? It's like there's no guarantee that that's going to be what they give you forever. Like surely that's unsustainable. If it's not, then the money's coming from somewhere else. And is it coming from the gambling side? Like there's sort of a whole morality thing, which is quite, I don't know. It's a complicated time right now in the streaming world. I think like the YouTube creator side is still relatively straightforward because there really is only one game in town, which is YouTube. But for streamers, I think it's quite tough at the minute, based on kind of the way that Twitch is heading, and I guess just like the fact that there are options out there. It's like you can go to YouTube. The UI still doesn't really work properly. Like I was polling my chat the other day, and some people were like, "Yeah, I watch like most of my stuff on YouTube actually," and some people saying like, "I can't find anybody on there." It's like it seems a bit strange. It's almost as if like if you're on YouTube already and then your creators that you're already following go live and it shows you and you click on it that one time, you're kind of like you're in. Then it like starts showing you people who are live. If you've never done that, or you don't watch people, or you're not on at the same time that they're on, or whatever, you just never see it. So it's really weird thing right now. YouTube's just like this really weird thing. It's just odd.
It is weird. I mean, like, so me personally, I watch a fair amount of Marvel Snap YouTube content, and if I just look right now, let me see if it's gonna recommend me this one guy who streams on YouTube. But that's the thing. Is he even streaming on YouTube, right? Is he live right now? Let me see if he is. But sometimes, like, because I've watched his videos, it will actually recommend me his live stream. Is this? No, this is his official. There we go. So yeah, he's not live streaming right now. And so in that way, I could see it being beneficial, but you almost have to be streaming a lot more to then get your live stream put in front. You know what I mean? It's not like I can, like on Twitch, it's fairly simple. Oh, I want to check out someone streaming X game. Let me go to X game category, and you just look at the top of the list, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here, you don't really have that. You have a much more. You could, in theory, do live. You could go to like all the live streams, but it's all based off your previous data.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, are you secure or like trusting in your position in the YouTube sphere? And on top of that, you got to think, well, it's going to be more beneficial for you to be live so people can see you, but then you also got to like have videos that like help you in that algorithm. So like but you can't be live while making videos. I guess you can, but then it's not the content you want to, you know what I mean? It's just like, how do you manage all that? It's a whole nother thing, but
yeah, it's certainly a tricky time. But it's interesting and just like watching what's going on. But it does feel like there's, I don't know, I feels like there's shifts coming. I know Twitch has been feeling a bit shaky for a while, but like they just changed CEO
Yeah, I was gonna
as
say
well.
that too. Yeah.
Emmett Shear left, and then they got the new guy. So practically, I'm not sure if that makes too much difference because the old guy was basically checked out anyway. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It feels to me, I mean, I could be wrong, but it just feels to me that the downward spiral is sort of accelerating a little bit, just in like Twitch is kind of like, they just don't seem to really, Twitch doesn't seem to really care about the fact that they're in decline and that the way that they're viewed by the community is in decline. And a lot of people kind of have defended it for a long time and thought, wow, there's not really anywhere else for me to go. But now that there's, there's YouTube, which is kind of, maybe it doesn't monetize as well as Twitch, but it's the big VOD platform, and lots of people want to get onto YouTube, so there's kind of a pull there. And there's this other platform which is basically Twitch 2, which is sort of a slightly murkier one that pays you basically double. Like there's weird and interesting. You were talking about moral choices last week, right? This is the IRL one,
Yeah.
It's the, do you take the pay cut to go to the robust platform? Do you take the pay bump to go to the morally dubious platform? Do you stay where you are on the sinking ship? It's like I almost feel though, I don't know. I just feel that the sentiment and just the way that things are looking are accelerating for Twitch. And I when I get a feeling that Twitch just doesn't care about the people who are on it, or care that people think that it's failing, that often makes me think that, not that Twitch itself doesn't care, because Twitch probably does care. It's more the fact that their parent company doesn't care, and that Amazon is just like, this isn't working, and you're just gonna have to slim down. And if we just strip you for the technology and we just resell the technology to people like Kick, and that's the business, then fair enough, then whatever. Because the other thing that I was going to say was about the ads incentive. That was the other thing. That was the other part of it. So the ads incentive program for partners was really the only thing left that incentivized you to actually be a partner. Being a partner on Twitch now doesn't actually really mean anything except for the little checkbox. The way that used to work is that basically, like, based on how much viewership you were going to get, you had a couple of different offers and a set number of hours you had to stream, and then they would just pay you that amount of money like every month. So it was like guaranteed. They obviously took that away because that was people. People pushing as many ads as they could, or like somewhere. I mean, it depended on the person, to be fair, but
Sure.
a lot of people took like a higher number of ads than they would normally because they were getting a guaranteed payout, which is like fair enough. But that probably wasn't going to last forever, and it hasn't. And now that's been taken away. So now it's a revenue share again, which is actually the way it works for affiliate, and has always kind of worked for affiliate. And so now it's kind of like back to an estimate based on like how much those ads make on those partners' channels, and people kind of upset about that. And it does actually bring partners back into line with affiliates, because they did a thing a while back. This is like when I was investigating the ads thing on my channel, because I didn't realize that I even had pre-roll ads running before the stream. And it's like, it's impossible to pick up new viewers if you have pre-roll ads running, because like if somebody just gets like slapped in the face with 4 ads before they even get to like watch 3 seconds of your content, it's just like a complete
for sure.
It's just death, right? It's just
that's
death.
me
like
every
YouTube,
time, dude. If I click on your stream and I give, I'm like, nope. Go click on another one. Try my odds on this other one.
Like YouTube is like, you don't always get one, and when you do, often it's like 2 5-second skippables or whatever.
Exactly.
So it's like you can get through it and it's doable. Whereas Twitch, like when you get these like long ass ones at the start, it's just death. So, and I didn't realize that for the longest time. Like I actually just screwed myself, not really looking into it. Because I was like, Twitch for me is always a second platform. So I was just like, whatever, I'm sure it's fine. I'll just run the minimum. I'm just not going to run ads. But turns out they were running anyway. And you need to do, as an affiliate, you need to run 1.5 minutes of ads every half hour, and that removes them completely. So you run 3 minutes per hour, and then you get no pre-rolls, which is what I do. So I run the absolute bare minimum because it makes like absolutely no money. I mean, if I could turn them off, I would, but you don't get a choice, right? You have to choose ads when I want them in the middle of the content while I'm loading into Raid, or like slap everyone with one before they physically step into the front door. Like, it's an obvious choice for anybody who wants to do well. So now partners are basically on the same thing as affiliates were for that. And so the final thing that was actually like valuable for being a partner, for getting this like guaranteed cash payout based on your CCV or your current viewers, that's gone. And I think this is actually a really big deal. I think it's a really big deal. There's like just not really much incentive to be partner. I'm not partnered on Twitch, and now that that's gone, I'm not sure if I care. To be honest, I'm not sure if I care. I feel like you're probably better off streaming in multiple places rather than being a partner.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Kick's kind of interesting because of the money. Like I could totally see, you know, anyone really being like, this is basically twice as much as what I'm making now. I could totally see the appeal there. Me personally, I I remember Kick from back in the day, like as like a messaging app, and it was like people give like Reddit and 4chan and these these type of sites like a really bad rep. That's kind of how I feel about Kick way back then. It's like purely messaging app, so I can only imagine what's going on the streaming side of things. But anyways, um yeah, I saw no dude, I saw this guy. So I really like his content, and like, I've been wanting to check out his stream, and I noticed, he streams on YouTube and Twitch, and then I went to Twitch and I noticed I was gonna give him my free sub, but I couldn't. I was like, why can't I give him a free sub? I was like, this darn UI is so stupid, I was like, oh wait, he's not affiliate. And then I asked him why, and he was like, yeah, I don't want to give people pre-rolls and ads. I'd rather them. In fact, it's kind of weird because the conundrum is like, I want to give you my free $2.50, but instead you want me to donate via Patreon, which or whatever, and the split's much better for him overall.
Yeah.
But I still have to give him money, like I can't give him my free money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, that's kind of a conundrum. But the benefit is for him is like obviously he gets a better split. He's multi, he's on Twitch, he's on YouTube. It's interesting, the whole streaming monetization business model and streaming. It's an interesting space, but I think you are correct in that. I do feel like a lot of people feel that Twitch is kind of on the downward spiral, but there's really nothing seemingly yet that's kind of like giving it a proper competition, and Twitch kind of has a stakes. They kind of hold all the cards. It's like, oh yeah, you guys want internet streaming services? Yeah, come on. Amazon's web service, come on, yeah. Oh, you're getting a little too popular there. I have to shut you down. Maybe take these low speed servers. We're gonna up the rates on our servers. It's just there's kind of a problem overall. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I might start testing it out on YouTube. Like the thing is, there was never really any point before because it was like it's actually just logistically complicated for me to stream full stop right now.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
As of tomorrow, it might be much better. And interestingly, I might start like I don't know. We'll see. I might start trying to do both, and then like start to like ship people over and be like, "Come over. We can do 20,000, 30,000 bit rates over here. Like you can watch Woods. Like you can watch it. Yeah, you can watch it like as if it's on your own screen, as opposed to on Twitch where like everybody's having to run like 936p because it's like in the middle because you can't run full 1080 because you can only do 8K bitrate because they went up that and they haven't put the new encoder in yet, so you can't like you don't have like the best the new compression thing because that's what they wanted to do, right? Like Twitch, rather than increasing the bitrate for everybody to be able to send their streams at a higher quality, they've been working on trying to put this, the more efficient encoder in.
Is it AV1? Yeah, I think it might
be. So that they can send more information down the same bit rate so that they don't stress the servers out. You go over to YouTube, you can stream whatever you like. You can stream it to like stupid bit rates if you want to, because YouTube's just got that scale where it just doesn't even matter. One thing, I just a really random funny side tangent. I was trying to upload my video today, and it wouldn't let me add the thumbnail because it was over 2 meg.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, I'm allowed to upload a video for like 120 gig of VOD, but you won't let me upload a thumbnail over 2 meg? What gives? It just is really bizarre. It must be like a super hangover from like the olden days. It just never changed it. It must be. Because it's not like that would ever kill. Like it's one picture per video too. Like it's insane. It's actually insane. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that'll be interesting. So you can get like high qualities over on YouTube and stuff, and Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that'd be kind of ironic, wouldn't it? Like use Twitch to market the YouTube stream. No one can find me on YouTube, even if like even if there's subs or whatever. So like when you're live on Twitch, just be like, come over here for better
Well,
quality. Go to this one.
I see. I mean, I don't know. I feel like people can find you.
They probably can actually. They probably can.
Yeah,
That's
and
probably unfair, but yeah.
you have the leverage of thumbnails. You know, you can leverage that. So I don't know. It's. I think you definitely got to be within someone's algorithm. You know what I mean?
Mm.
For it to be effective.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
to have
That's fine.
a
Yeah,
high success rate, I should say.
yeah, which is fine for me because when you look at any of the analytics on my stuff, right, anybody who kind of gets to sort of, I guess, like I don't know, probably about 10 to 20k subs or something, like roughly. Like after that, like a lot of your views come from suggested at that point. So it's like 85% of the views come from the homepage. So it's like you're in the algorithm then. So people are watching your stuff. So maybe it'll work. I've wanted to do this for ages, but it's just like, yeah, as I said, it's logistically complicated right now, even for me just to stream on Twitch. And like to stream on two places, I'd have to like pay a service to take my one stream and then they have to split it because like I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the bandwidth to do it once, never mind twice. Whereas now I'll be able to basically stream to as many places just on my own line. Because it's not even going to like touch the sides. Even if I stream at 50k bitrate, it's not even going to matter. It's going to be so cool. So no, I'm feeling I don't know, I'm feeling interesting. There's changes afoot. I feel like I don't know. It's sort of a quiet like twinkling of just like the structure of things changing. It's not just like it's not the writing on the paper. The paper itself is crunching up. That's a very odd analogy, but it is what it is.
You said twinkling. All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude ScavTalk for today.
Yep, I think so. I think that is all.
So
We'll see what next week brings.